What's going on, you guys? Welcome back. And today I want to talk about market fatigue. Now, what I've got in front of me here is a few of my more valuable games, but I mean, none of them are particularly all that valuable. These two are worth about 50. This one's worth about 40. This is my most valuable game that I still own physically. It's worth about $100 complete. I put a red case on it because, I mean, look at it. It looks dope as hell. But what I mean by market fatigue, it's like, what am I talking about? Well, there's so much conversation in the collecting scene, regardless of what you collect. If it's video games, Pokemon cards, comic books, anything like that, people are always talking about the value of this and the value of that. Like, oh, I got this for this price and it's worth this much. And I absolutely understand that logic. I definitely do. I mean, just the other day, I scored Resistance 3 on the PlayStation 3 for $2.50 as part of a 4 for $10 deal, and that's like a $15 game. So that was really cool to be able to get it for such a cheap price. And I certainly understand wanting to get the best deal possible on games and hunting for the cheapest price possible. Like, I'm definitely one of those gamers. I consider myself a budget collector. I don't really go out and drop a bunch of money on high ticket items. I've never been that way. It's not completely out of my wheelhouse. I mean, it can happen, but for the most part, I'm always looking for a way to get a deal. So whether that's working towards a trade or selling a few things so I can earn some extra cash to go get that more valuable game, then that's what I'll do. But 9 times out of 10, I'm more into just like going the mod scene or, maybe messing around with a little bit of emulation. I won't get much more deeper into that, but what I will say is I am, by what I mean when I say I'm tired of market fatigue, I am really getting sick and tired of just considering the value of things in general on the secondhand market. So just the fact that, like, I know off the rip that this is my most valuable game because it's consistently worth $80 to $100. That's cool and all. I'll never sell this game. This is literally my favorite game of all time. I love the original PlayStation 1 release, but this version is just so freaking good. If you're a Resident Evil fan and you haven't played Deadly Silence, fix that, man. Fix that. And this is actually one that I would say uh, emulation doesn't really come close to capturing what this thing can do on a real DS. If you're going to go that route, then you're definitely going to want a modded DS or 3DS. But despite that, you know, I guess I'm at a point now in my collecting where I don't really have a lot of high end value games. Like I said, these are my four most valuable games. I got a bunch that are in the, $30 to $40 realm. I went to my little collector's app where I keep track of my collection and just grabbed the first four games that I saw were at the top. I also have Mario Kart 64, which is worth $50, but that's actually my wife's game. That's in her office. I didn't bother going to get it. I'm in the game room right now. And, it's just one of those things where we're constantly talking about what things are worth, whether they're going up in value, down in value, all this speculation on will the collecting scene crash, will gaming crash, will the retro game collecting scene crash, will the Pokemon scene crash. And I'm personally just like the whole topic, I'm getting a little tired of it. I think at this point, I'm just focused on enjoying what I have and getting a few things that I'd like to have and figuring out the way to afford it. Now, granted, I think this topic is a bit more applicable to people who are major collectors, who are collecting for any and all systems, or at least a large handful. For me, there's just a few systems that just don't make sense to collect for me anymore, such as the Sega Saturn, for example. The Sega Saturn, and it's not because I don't like it. The Sega Saturn is incredibly dope. It's incredibly cool. I love the Sega Saturn, in fact. But the problem is when every game just becomes an investment just to try to get your hands on it. I mean, at that point, what are we really talking about here? Because what's the reality that you're actually going to sit with that game and play it for a substantial amount of time? I mean, for the Saturn, it's not uncommon for games to cost $100, $200, $300, $400, $500, up to $1,000. There's multiple games on the Saturn at this point that are worth $1,000 or more. And the idea that you're actually going to get $1,000 worth of enjoyment out of them, that's just not going to be the case. So at that point, what are you really getting them for? So for a console like the Saturn, I do think the conversation of modding and emulation is really valid because, I mean, those games are not made available to anyone anymore at this point. And I mean, really, what's it hurt? And it could be a little bit of a controversial idea, but I just get tired of even having to consider that. Like, oh man, if a while ago, about 3 years ago or so, I had gotten a PlayStation Vita. Might have even been a little bit longer than that, but I got a PlayStation Vita. It was the second Vita I'd ever owned in my life. The first one I had back when the Vita was relatively new, and I was excited to get another Vita. And I already knew I was going to want to mod the thing, but I was so excited to get a Vita. I was like, you know what? I'm going to start a collection. And I mean, I wasn't 5 games in before I was just like, man, what am I doing? You know, it's hard to find a game that I want that's worth less than $50 on this dang thing. And, you know, you can excuse it all day. Oh, you know, modern games cost 60, 70, $80. And that's if you're just getting regular editions. You know, so really, what's it going to hurt to just maybe spend that 50 on some Vita games? But then I had to think about it. Am I actually really going to, you know, get my money's worth out of that experience? Does it really make sense to invest that heavily into that system? There's just some systems that are so niche and with libraries that are so selective for you because, you know, you're not going to like everything. That doesn't really make sense to pour that much time, that much money, and that much of an investment into. And I'm of the mindset now that it really isn't. If I can collect affordably, that's one thing. But if I'm having to constantly evaluate how am I going to afford this, how am I going to get around these high prices, that on one hand that can be fun, and I think for a while that can be fun, but after a period of time, for me, it really does just become exhausting, and I just get tired of the concept of having to track the market and look for the dip and look for the opportunities in where wow, now this game that once was this much is now this much, and I better get it now. And I feel like tracking the market and trying to buy on the dip and trying to be tactful and opportunistic, a lot of that, while it can be fun and it does fuel the hunt, and I know it's a part of the nature of game collecting, it also just comes with this constant feeling of FOMO. I find you're just constantly hoping you're buying games at the right time, you're investing into them at the right time, and you're as well holding on to them for the right time. And if you're going to sell a game to afford another one, it's like, am I flipping it at the best time, or should I have waited, or should I have done this like a year ago? You know what I mean? All of that mindset, as much as it can be fun and it can be part of the experience, I think I'm bored of it, man. I'm bored of it. I'd really want to just go back to just, if I want a game, I get a game. And I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm capturing the feeling that I'm having all that well or not. I think you guys, because I'm not necessarily, I guess I could be more clear. I'm not necessarily criticizing this idea of tracking the market. It's not that. I'm not saying that is inherently bad or is something that is inherently wrong. I'm just saying personally, I'm getting a little sick and tired of doing it. And I think part of that has to do with the fact that I'm extremely, extremely satisfied with my selection of games. And I think for the first time in my life, I'm really feeling that. And I think a part of that has to do with, you know, stuff I've shared with you guys already on the channel. You know, for example, this GameCube right here. This GameCube is a modded GameCube. I have access to the stuff I really want to play on there. And while one could criticize and say, hey, you know, be careful with that, because now, for the first time in ages, Nintendo is actually making GameCube games available. But they're not making available the stuff I'm looking to play. They're not making available the stuff I'm interested in. And not to mention, as much as they want to emulate, to replicate, it's not authentic. It doesn't feel like it did. It doesn't handle like it did. It just doesn't feel the same playing it on a Switch 2. It doesn't capture that same essence. And so I think for me, while it's cool to have a few games here that are, worth it, worth some value, at the end of the day, I guess they're worth what someone's willing to spend, right? But I think for me, it ultimately just boils down to how long am I going to spend focused on what things are worth and when's the best time to grab them, and when am I actually going to just sit back and actually savor and enjoy and indulge in what I already have. When is there enough hunting, you know and this constant tracking of the market and seeking opportunities and seeking deals. I think that, I think basically what I'm describing here, it is the hunt. I'm feeling a bit of hunt exhaustion. I think at this point of the game, I'm not really looking and scouring eBay for the best deals. I'm not really scouring Amazon. Like, Black Friday's right around the corner, and it's not uncommon for me to get excited for Black Friday and to snag a few games. But I think this go around, I don't think I'm really going to participate. Um, I'd rather that time that I'm spending tracking the market and trying to find the best deals, I'd rather be spending that time on my couch playing the games and creating some room in my life for new experiences or for some pickups. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, what's the point in continuing to grab all these games if I haven't even played the ones I've got? So what I'm recognizing about this topic as I discuss it is I'm talking about more than one thing at once. And I think this topic is leading me to another concept of when is the hunt enough? So we're going to save that for the next video. Or maybe not the next video, but certainly a future one. In any case, I think I'm not sure if I did the best job elaborating on my thoughts here, other than to say I'm pretty tired of tracking the market. I'm definitely much more interested in just getting my hands on what I can, what makes sense at the time. I'm very much interested in experiencing what I have. And the chase and the hunt just isn't interesting to me right now. It's not to say it won't return. I'm not even sure if I would say I'm burnt out as much as I'm far removed. I haven't hunted in a very long time, and it feels good. It feels good to focus on what I have. So I'll end it there. This was a bit more of a abstract kind of thought that just kind of came to me today. I didn't give it too much thought. I thought I'd save it for the video. But in any case, I'd be interested to hear what you guys think down below. What do you think about market fatigue, about constantly tracking games and the amount of time that takes, and then going out and hunting for these best deals as opposed to just kind of enjoying what you've got? Is there anyone else who's getting a little sick and tired of dealing with FOMO and feeling opportunistic? And when is it that we can just sit back, relax, and enjoy what we have? Let's talk about that. In any case, I appreciate you guys for hanging out. I'll see you all in the next one. Y'all take care now. Peace.